Well, there is less than 4 weeks to go until Ontario's students and educators head back to class, but are schools ready to welcome them back? Premier Doug Ford calling.
Be bumps in the road when you put 2 million kids back in the classroom.
Premier Doug Ford calling his back to school plan the best in the country. But while Ontario's COVID-19 cases have been going down, the pressure to return to school is going up. Political specialist Cynthia Mulligan joins us now with the latest on back to class and calls to bring students back to school in phases. Good morning, Cynthia.
Hi, Melissa. How are you today? Gosh, I haven't seen you in person in so long.
I know. It is so nice to see you. I've been watching you every night outside your home there. Sometimes the ice cream truck will roll by as you're doing your live hits. Love that.
That's right. That's right. Yes, just to tease us all as it goes by.
For
sure.
This
is the big issue for parents right now. And listen, I'm a parent too. Do you send your kids back to school? And there are so many unknowns. I mean, at this point, the TDSB tells me they don't even know how many teachers are willing to go back to the classroom. So after they do this current survey of parents and how many kids will be back in the class, then they're doing another survey to see how many teachers are willing to go back. And they still have to figure out how many bus drivers are going back. Traditionally, we have shortages for bus drivers. So that's another whole other issue that Pam Seidel did a story on yesterday. But the real concern is social distancing. Are we doing enough with the plan? We know in the U.S. in the last 2 weeks of July alone, 97,000 students came down with COVID in the U.S. Now, we have a different circumstance. Our numbers are going down, but it's still a huge concern when the government doesn't seem to want to use the sick kids recommendations and make social distancing a priority by lowering class sizes. This is what the Premier had to say about it yesterday when he hinted there could be more money. They've put up $30 million to hire extra teachers to lower class sizes, but that's only about 30 teachers, sorry. Listen to what he had to say.
Into a fund that they can hire more teachers. And if they need more than 30 million, we'll put more than 30 million in.
And then, Melissa, he went on to say that he wants school boards to get creative, and if they want money to put tents outside, big tents, he wants to hear about it, and he's open to those things. But now a group, Annie Kidder is part of it, she's very well known as heading up People for Education, is calling on the government to do a gentle reopening, a phased-in reopening. So you start with the younger grades first, and then you gradually increase them grade by grade. And they say Denmark did that. It was one of the first countries to reopen their schools, and it was successful. And they started with the younger grades, and then about a month later, then they started phasing in the older grades. So they're calling for that kind of approach. We know BC has just sort of put a pause on its reopening, and they're going to start with teachers first. So there's so much to unpackage here. And to your point at the very early on when you threw to me, it's less than a month to go.
Yeah, and with so much that is undecided right now, is there a date where these decisions have to be made by?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I know that the boards had to come up with their plans by August 4th, but I haven't heard a specific date since then. So, I mean, it's going to be board by board, school class by school class. I asked the TDSB former chair, Robin Pilkey, on her last day, do you know how many classes? Because it's not so much the number of kids in the class. I know that's important, but it's how big is the actual physical space and can they be distant? And so they don't have the numbers yet on how many of those classrooms, if they're full, with the normal, without a class cap size, will be actually unable to physically distant to 1 to 2 meters. So much up in the air, Melissa.
There really is. And I'm wondering, are you hearing much from parents? I know that you get a lot of tweets, a lot of messages online. What's the feeling that you're getting there?
Absolute uncertainty, real fear, real concern. I mean, listen, that parent petition that was started last week is now well over 200,000 signatures, and their goal was 200,000, and it was so popular. Now it's gone up to 300,000, and it's very possible or likely that they'll get there. So there is a lot of concern. Listen, it's our children. Everybody's concerned about their children and don't want them to get sick and maybe bring it home and pass it on to a grandparent. So lots of uncertainty.
Thanks so much for that update, Cynthia. Of course, follow Cynthia on City News every night. She is following this story very closely.